Skrove Agro Services Limited is proud to present From Field to Plate, a visual tour of where your food comes from. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey Skrove, and today I will show you the process of farming on our family farm in Rolling Hills. The process of getting your food from the field to your plate does not start with the seed. There are many important steps and lots of work to be done before we put the seed in the ground. Here we have the first groundbreaking of the year. Although the tractor is small, it is doing very important work, putting its spikes deep into the ground to break the soil to make it easier to work with later on. Doing this groundwork early in the season results in early growth of weeds, which are the bad plants, and gives us a chance to control them before we put the crop in. To prepare the field for seed, we use many different types of equipment, big and small. Like in this clip here, our biggest tractor and biggest cultivator on already broken ground to break it even more. Sometimes we might go over the field again with this big machine, for example, to work in fertilizer. Fertilizer is like food for the plant. We put it on top of the ground and bury it so that when the plant needs food, the fertilizer is already there. Sometimes we need to break the dirt lumps up a little more. This is where we use something like this roller. This roller has tiny little spikes on it and is quite heavy. We can go a lot faster with it and can turn the lumps of dirt into powder to make a softer bed for the seed. After we have finished rolling the field, we are ready to plant the seed. Planting the seed is one of the most important operations of farming. Everything has to be just right at this point or it could mess up the whole year. A lot of time is spent checking everything on the seeder to make sure everything is working as it should. Once we get into the field, we do a lot of tests, ensuring we're using the right amount of seed. Once we have got everything set up the way we want it, it's go time. There's lots of technology available to us to help in our operations, such as GPS and auto steer. These systems help us to accurately and efficiently put the seed in the ground in very straight rows. Every few rounds we have to put more seed into the seeder. This is done by using buckets or even just our hands. Once we finish seeding, it's time to start watering the crop. This is irrigation. In order to do such a large area, we would need a very big sprinkler. Instead, we have lots of regular sized sprinklers that move around the field. This machine is called a pivot. We don't sit in a cab like with tractors. We enter the settings we want and press go. The pivot does the rest of the work automatically. They will drive around in a circle very slowly and water the plants. Pest control is another very important step in the process. Pests includes weeds, bugs, and plant diseases. This is where a lot of care and attention needs to be taken. We are always checking the health of the crop and determining when and how to control pests. The most common and quickest way is spraying. We use different types of chemicals mixed with water to protect our crops. These chemicals are extremely dangerous and should only be handled by trained adults. We use a big machine called a sprayer. This machine has a very wide wingspan and we can cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. This is my main job during the growing process, and sometimes I do make the odd mistake such as knocking over a bee hunt. By the time the late spring and early fall arrives, harvest is here. This is when we get to see the product of all our hard work during the spring and summer. During harvest, we use the most important piece of equipment on the farm, the combine. Combines, or harvesters, are big machines that combine 3 different main steps of harvesting a crop: cutting, threshing, and separating. At the front of the combine we have the header. It has a bunch of little tiny knives on it that cut the crop, then feed the crop into the combine. Next, the combine shakes the grain loose from the rest of the plant. This process is called threshing. The combine then separates the grain from the straw and chaff. Straw and chaff are what is left over from the plant. The combine then puts the grain into a holding tank and spits the straw and chaff out the back, either laying in a swath to be baled at a later time or chopped up and spread on the ground. Once the combine is full of grain, it is time to unload. We unload the grain into big trucks that then transport the grain to where we store it. The trucks then unload the grain into an auger that piles the grain in big metal structures called grain bins. Here the grain will sit and wait to be shipped and processed to end up on your family's plate as bread, pasta, and a bunch of different foods. This is just a quick glimpse into one type of farming. There are many different crops that are grown and many different ways of growing and harvesting them. Some people actually raise animals too. Agriculture is a truly diverse world with lots of new things to learn. I hope I was able to teach you a little bit about where your food comes from. Thank you for watching this presentation.